Happy Madden release day, everybody. It is time for the annual video of the top teams to rebuild in Madden 24 franchise mode. There are a lot of good teams to rebuild this year, as you can see. Most of them have very even ratings across the board, according to Madden here, besides, of course, just a couple of teams. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into this thing.
Honorable mention number 1.
Let's just get this out of the way in the video right away. I know the Arizona Cardinals are going to be a very popular choice for the best team to rebuild. I am well aware that they're not very good, and you can really tell right from when you look at them. Only 5 players 80 plus or better on their entire team. But realistically, looking at it, Kyler Murray is still young enough to improve, albeit not going to improve greatly, and he is taking up a large sum of money. He's going to take a big chunk of the cap space, but even with that, top right corner, they do have some cap space. $22 million to spend, and they're spending at running back on James Conner, who you can probably let go of after this season and save a bit of money. Wide receiver Marquise Brown's going to be due new money. Do you bring him in? Do you draft somebody? I would probably lean towards draft. Tight end Zach Ertz for 2 more years is getting a little bit paid, but you can save some by cutting him if you wanted to. DJ Humphries, one of the worst contracts I can think of. He's not worth that money right now, and their offensive line for the rest of it is kind of poor. Paris Johnson might be the best lineman on the entire team, and he is a rookie. So Paris Johnson, at least they did a good job drafting him. Can you make him the star lineman you need him to be? On defense, they're going to be horrible. Their entire defensive line doesn't have a 70 overall to speak of. Their linebacking core doesn't have anybody over 76. Their DBs don't really have anybody except for Budda Baker, and Budda Baker has made it really clear that he wants out. How realistic do you want to be in your franchise? Do you want to let go of Budda Baker, find a trade for him, see what you can get back, get some draft picks to fully rebuild this team? It could be a way to go. They do happen to have Houston's first round pick, so you could end up with 2 really good picks in the draft should you tank your number 1. They also happen to have 3 thirds, a 4th, 2 5ths, and a 7th, so they are loaded with draft capital, and you could load up even more by getting rid of Budda Baker, maybe pick up some future picks as well. Really, there's a lot to be challenged here. This team doesn't have a single X factor on it. Can you inject this team with just talent whatsoever? I wanted to get this team out of the way because I know it's going to be really popular, but they're not going to be high on my list just because of that reason.
Honorable mention number 2.
Let's get the Houston Texans out of the way because they are another one of those teams that are gonna be pretty popular, I would imagine, because this is a rebuild of trying not to do the David Carr thing. CJ Stroud has been drafted by the Houston Texans, and you don't want to kill this man's career. Obviously, he's got the accuracy, he's got the talent, he's mobile. That makes things easier on you. What you need to do is build the rest of this squad so that he doesn't get absolutely killed on the football field. Dameon Pierce is a very young, hot running back. You love to see that. The receiving core, I don't know what to do. Now, I believe in Tank Dell. I like Nico Collins, and I like John Mechie, but none of them look like number 1 wide receivers. Now, Dalton Schultz at tight end's not a bad option. Tunsil's a great left tackle, one of the best in football, if not the best. There's nobody else on this line other than Shaq Mason who can help you out, and Shaq Mason's getting old, and he's not going to be progressing much further. Now, Will Anderson is very interesting. Obviously, you'd want to be the Texans because they did just take 2 guys in the top 5 of the draft, top 3 of the draft. And Will Anderson is one of those 2 players, and he is fast, he is a motor, and he's got everything you would need. Look at that, big hitter, spin move, bull rush, strip ball, he's got everything. You may not be able to stop this man, and that's a good thing if you're the Houston Texans. Now, the rest of the defensive line's not that good. The linebacking core is not that good at all. Denzel Perryman on a 1-year deal. King, Griffin, not the greatest corner tandem you could ask for. I would want to develop Derek Stingley if I was Houston. Jimmy Ward, not bad on a 2-year deal. Not a bad price either for an 87 overall. And Jalen Petrie, you hope he continues to develop and take that next step as well. The one thing that I do like about a potential Texans franchise is, yeah, you got those like rookies on these 4-year deals, and they did pay Shaq Mason, but they did need to improve the offensive line. The one thing that I like is that most of the people signed, if you can notice, are the young rookie guys. A lot of the other guys are gone within the next 2 years, so you can really build this team in your image, but build it around CJ Stroud. Now, the Texans do have Cleveland's first-round pick this year. It's not their own. That one, of course, we talked about earlier. They also have Cleveland's first-round pick next year in addition to their own, so that's really good for them. They don't have a lot of superstar talent. As a matter of fact, I don't see any superstars or X factors on this team. Now, there is a chance that Will Anderson gets that development. I am not sure what they have made him, but you can let me know in the comment section below if you found that out already.
Honorable mention number 3.
I'm sure the Bears will be a pretty popular one as well, which is why it's not as high on my list. Now, while I like the Bears because I know they're a bad team, top right corner, that cap space is way too high for me. $32.7 million in the cap, and they've got Justin Fields, who has star development here. That's not great, but kid's accurate. Kid can throw on the run. He's got enough throw power. He breaks sack, and he's super fast. I mean, I think you can develop Justin Fields in a Madden game. I'm supremely confident in that. Khalil Herbert's cool and all, but 25 years old on a 77 running back, probably not exactly what you want. Now, they do have DJ Moore, and obviously he is the big bring in the trade down from the number 1 overall pick, and DJ Moore is the threat that you are looking for when it comes to Justin Fields. He'll help out. Darnell Mooney will be fine. Claypool's just, no, that was just a bad decision. Cole Kmet, I love Cole Kmet. I would re-sign Cole Kmet any day. I love Cole Kmet. Braxton Jones, not bad, could develop. Tevin Jenkins could develop a little bit more. Center, they're going to need a new one. Nate Davis has a little bit of development to do, and Darnell Wright could develop as well. So they have nobody who's awesome, but they have guys that can develop. They're young there. At defensive end, they're not that young, and they're not very developable. Same thing at defensive tackle. Now, Sanborn can develop at left outside linebacker. Tremaine Edmonds is in the prime of his career, so a great signing. Noah Sewell behind that's cool. TJ Edwards, also in the prime of his career, so the linebacking core, not too bad. Bears always usually do a good job there. Jalen Johnson's a guy you probably want to bring back. Let me just see. What is Jalen Johnson's star? I don't know. 89 speed and a star development. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, maybe you see how he plays. You know, I'm a believer when I play franchise mode. I like to see how people play, so maybe that's how that one works. Eddie Jackson, 2 years left. He's going to be over 30. Probably don't bring him back. Brisker, cool, nice young player. He'll work out as well. So I actually think that they have the right young players where they need them to replace some of their older guys. I actually think that they are pretty well set up for the future. And to prove my point, they have Carolina's first from the trade up with number 1 overall. They're gonna have 2 pretty good picks, you would think, right? Plus 2 fourths, and then they're gonna have 2 seconds the year after that because of Carolina as well. So the Bears are pretty well set up, and because they're so well set up, they're not gonna be high on my list. But obviously, DJ Moore is the one piece of star power they have. They don't have a lot of star power, but I think that they are pretty steady.
Number 10.
The Cleveland Browns. Now, the Cleveland Browns aren't a team that a lot of people would think, hey, rebuild. But guess what? They have the same issue that Denver does. Albeit their quarterback is a little bit younger, he's making $64 million a year over the next 3 years after year number 1 in your franchise mode. So you are stuck with this man. You can't save more than $1. So that's not good. Now, the Browns do have some cap space. That's good for them. Nick Chubb is the most paid running back in the league, and he's worth it. He is worth it, but you're spending a lot of money on that offensive side of the football with Amari Cooper making bank as well. Elijah Moore coming in gives you a younger receiver to use. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think he has a world of potential as well. David Njoku is going to make massive money 2024 and beyond. Jedrick Wills is going to get that option to kick in at $14.2 million. But Tonio is another guy that's going to be making some money here as he's getting older. Ethan Pochik, actually a pretty solid contract for him. Wyatt Teller making bank. They are spending on the offensive side of the ball, no question at all. Jack Conklin's making good money as well. On the defensive side of the ball, Zadarius Smith, they get him a little bit on the cheap, in my opinion, so that's a good signing for them. Myles Garrett is, of course, taking massive loads of money from the Cleveland Browns organization, but he's worth every penny of that. There are holes, though. Linebacker, not the surest spot on the team. Actually, all spots could use a little bit of development or a little bit of help. Jock, I think, has a world of potential. Over on DBs, you have Denzel Ward, who is, of course, taking up money, and he's worth every penny of it. So they have their star power. What you really need to do is fill in those other spots. Can you get somebody? Is Grant Delpit going to stay on your team? Or are you going to find somebody new? Juan Thornhill, that's probably not your free safety of the future. You're going to have to find where this team needs to fill in lower level positions while the stars are still on the squad, because there's not a lot of draft picks here. So you're not going to get a lot of huge impact players, at least year number one. There's a lot of late round picks. Maybe you can move these up, get like another third. So there are challenges here, despite the fact that they have a couple of X factors and a couple of superstars as well.
Number 9.
The New Orleans Saints. Now, why would I have them here? Well, they have $13.7 million in cap space right now, and that's probably only because they're preparing for the extra $28 million that'll be taken up by the Derek Carr contract next season. That is insane. He is going to add massive money to your budget. Can you get Derek Carr that one thing that he's been chasing his whole career that Vegas couldn't get him? Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, and Kareem Hunt is a full complement of a running game for sure. Kamara is about to have a nice little extension kick in there for 18 and then 29 million. That's a lot of money. I don't know if I would have done that. So money is getting doled out. It is getting doled out to Michael Thomas. Chris Olave, thank goodness he's on a rookie deal because he makes things so much easier. Jawan Johnson, very nice tight end. They didn't have Jimmy Graham here for me to add. Their offensive line is not good. It is not a good offensive line. Eric McCoy is their best lineman outside of Ryan Ramczyk, and Ramczyk is about to get paid too. His salary is about to go up $16 million. Cam Jordan is about to be due new money. To even bring the 34-year-old back, I don't know. And then as you continue, the defensive line, the rest of it just isn't good. Linebacking core, outside of Demario Davis, I mean, look at this. The best players on this team are old. Other than Marshawn Lattimore, who is about to get an extra $14 million. You're going to have to keep kicking the can down the road. Now, maybe the new restructuring feature in this year's Madden can help you do the Saints thing and keep kicking the can down the road like the Saints do. Marcus May is due another $6 million next year. Now, the Saints have their first and they have Denver's second round pick this year. They don't have a third or a fourth or a seventh, but they got a 5 and 2 6s. They don't have a second for the next year afterwards or a seventh. So the Saints are kind of low on draft picks as well. It's going to be really hard to rebuild this roster the right way and reset this entire cap situation because their cap is bad. Look at the savings you can have by cutting any of these people. There just isn't savings because they have pinched every single penny.
Number 8.
The Washington Commanders. Let me tell you, this isn't a team I would personally use because I've used Washington in a really old franchise mode on the channel. However, they're primed for a rebuild. You get to take your own quarterback in the draft. They're loading up. They are ready. They got to select a quarterback, and they know it. Sam Howell, they're going to try him out, but it's really hard to develop a 66 overall in Madden. Some people can do it, some people can't, but that'll be your challenge here. Running backs, at least they got a couple of good ones in Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, and they're on the cheap. Terry McLaurin is one of the few guys taking money on this offense, but of course he is the star power on the offense, and he's the guy that you'll be excited to use in your franchise being in the prime of his career. That's the guy you really want to take advantage of. They have nobody at tight end. Their left tackle situation, Charles Leno Jr., at least he's only on a 2-year deal because he's getting paid and he's not amazing. Nobody else on the whole offensive line is really that great. Sam Cosmi, maybe you can develop him. Chase Young, you got 1 year left. Are you resigning him? And how much is he going to cost you? Top right corner, 14.9 in cap space. It's not going to be easy. Him and Montez Sweat both looking for new money. Allen and Payne, both on the squad, are going to really eat up the middle of the field, but they're making a combined $40+ million. That's going to be tough to get a linebacker. Maybe Jamin Davis could be good. Kendall Fuller is going to be due new money. Are you going to bring him back? Are you going to replace him? Are you going to draft somebody? Those are decisions that need to be made. Derek Forrest looks like he could be a really good young player. Same thing with Cameron Curl, but he's going to be due new money as well. Good thing about the Commanders is that they have nearly all of their original picks, so you can use all of their resources to do what it is you need to. Who knows if they'll be selecting high enough to get that quarterback of the future. They've got 3 big star players on the squad with development. Can you use that to your advantage?
Number 7.
The Green Bay Packers. Now, I wouldn't think that I would be saying this, but there's a lot of reasons I like the Packers here. Jordan Love has 2 years to become the man of the future. He's got 2 years guaranteed on this team. He's only a normal development. Not going to be the easiest thing to develop, but in case you do, you might want to pay him, it's going to be difficult to really make that decision when it comes time if you develop Jordan Love. If not, you're going to have to find your quarterback of the future. 2 years also gets rid of Aaron Jones, and I doubt you want to sign him at 30 years old. So that makes you find a new running back as well. You have a lot of really young receivers. Can you develop any of these guys into anything great before it is too late and they're gone off the team? There's no tight end to speak of. Can you develop Musgrave or Tucker Kraft? Can that be done? Bakhtiari is gone in 2 years. I don't know if you're going to want him at the age of 33 years old. Jenkins will be a mainstay, of course, in a Packers franchise. And on defense, the defensive line, Clark probably gone after 2 years, but they have no other defensive lineman. Rashawn Gary's who you're going to want to spend big money to in this franchise because he could really be a difference maker on that defense, pass rushing wise. Definitely want to keep him around. Devondre Campbell, 4 years at the age of 30 is probably too much for my liking, so that's a bit of a challenge. When do you cut him? Can you cut him? Preston Smith, same thing. Wouldn't have given him that kind of long contract. No guarantees. At least Jair Alexander will be a mainstay on the defense, and that'll be very important. But this team is going to lose a lot of its players in the first couple of years of its franchise mode. Not to mention the fact that they were already known for constantly making the playoffs and falling short. They do have an extra second-round pick thanks to the Aaron Rodgers trade. You got a lot of challenges here with the Packers. Who do you resign? Who do you let go? Who's too old? And who can you develop who is young?
Number 6.
The Tennessee Titans. Now, I think the Tennessee Titans is a good rebuild because I don't actually think this roster is as good as a lot of Tennessee Titans fans might think. At least when it comes to Madden. They don't have a lot of cap space at $4.22 million. This is the last year for Ryan Tannehill. After that, he is gone, and you're going to have to deal with either Mr. Mayo Man himself, Will Levis. You will have to deal with these ratings. He's got the throw power, but I don't know. I don't know if Will Levis is going to be buildable in this game, only normal development. And then you also have the option of trying to build Malik Willis, who is still young. Also normal development, also big throw power. Faster man, though, if you like that scrambling style of quarterback. Derrick Henry, last year of his deal. Do you re-sign him? Do you let him go? Do you make Tajay Spears take over? Who knows? At wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins signed on for 2 years, but Treylon Burks is his number 2. The offensive line leaves a lot to be desired, though I have hope for Peter Skoronski, but with a bad offensive line, you know how it goes in the NFL, and you know how it goes in Madden. It doesn't usually go well. Defensive line, really solid. Jeffrey Simmons brought back. Glad to see that. Over on the linebackers, Harold Landry is your main linebacker there. The DBs leave a lot to be desired, but they are young and buildable, and they're going to have to be built. Amani Hooker, he's getting towards that prime of his career where he's going to kind of stop developing, and you got to get there before it ends. It is tough. There's a lot of guys here that are either done developing or aren't going to develop much more, and there's a lot of uncertainty in the Titans organization right now. They're also missing a third, a 5th, and a 6th round pick to boot this year. Man, these teams that don't have their full complement of draft picks and they have a lot of guys that are questionable to be leaving soon with not a lot of talent coming up behind it is really, really difficult to build, and the Titans are another one of those teams.
Number 5.
The Denver Broncos. Now, there's one really big reason why the Denver Broncos are on my list of franchise teams this season, and that reason is right here. Russell Wilson. Now, Russell Wilson is 34 years old. The Broncos just signed him last year. You're not going to be able to move on from this guy. 78 overall at 34 years old in Madden. You know he's not getting any better. It's going to be tough. You're going to have to build it around Russell Wilson, and look at all this money. The dead cap is just too much. You don't save any money getting rid of him. So he is your quarterback, and you are trying to get him that one more Super Bowl ring. And in order to do that, you're going to have to use the likes of Jerry Jeudy while you still have him. Cortland Sutton is getting paid over the next 3 years. Tim Patrick getting paid over the next 2 years. So those guys are weapons. There isn't much at tight end. What they do have is some linemen, and they're getting paid as well. Garrett Bowles making a nice hefty chunk. The extension for Ben Powers is going to kick in, making him $15 million a year over 3 later on. And then you also have the Mike McGlinchey contract. 5 years, huge monies. A lot of money tied up in the O-line, some money tied up in receiver, and of course at quarterback. And then Zach Allen has this big 3-year contract that is going to take up some money as well. DJ Jones, another guy at only 78 overall. These guys aren't going to get that much better. Randy Gregory at $16.1 million a year is insane. And it is a pretty old team. Not a lot of youth. The youth is going to come from this man right here. Patrick Surtain is the guy. You guys that know me know I'm a Dolphins fan, so I have great respect for him and his father. And I really want to see what he can do in his career. The corner group, kind of young outside of Kwan Williams, but again, really tough. Simmons is, for 2 years, he's getting paid, but at least you'll be able to get rid of him when his age is getting up there. Strong safety Kareem Jackson for 1 year. There's going to be some holes on this team throughout your franchise. I think it's an awesome place to start. And not just the roster that can be a problem, but because of the Russell Wilson trade, draft picks are a little bit of a problem as well. You're going to have all of your 2026 picks. 2025 picks are pretty good. You're just kind of dumping out your 6th for the Rams' 7th. Not a big deal. But this upcoming draft, no 2nd round draft pick, it could be a little tough. You're not getting all of the resources necessary to rebuild this team.
Number 4.
The Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Colts I find very interesting. Look at these top players and look how many are on 1 more year left in their contract. There's a good little bit of them. Their top players of their top, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. You're talking about 4 of them being done at the end of the year. That's insane to me. But the main reason for a Colts franchise is I would want to build around Anthony Richardson, one of the more interesting quarterback prospects in recent memory at 6'4", 244 with 95 throw power. Guy's got a cannon of an arm. He's super fast. I mean, a scrambler like this with a cannon of an arm that's built like Cam Newton doesn't come around all that often. Now, Jonathan Taylor has 1 year left on his contract. He is already upset with the team. Obviously, you could see what maybe you could get for him. Maybe bring in some picks or something to continue building around your man, Anthony Richardson. Michael Pittman Jr.'s contract also coming up. You can see a lot of this top offensive talent is just going to be gone. Now, Bernard Raymond, you got to continue trying to develop that at left tackle. Quentin Nelson's obviously really good. Kelly's just getting old at this point. They have no right guard. And Braden Smith, you hope he just continues to be steady Eddie for the next 3 years. Kwity Paye, very interesting. Hopefully he will develop as well, give you a nice little pass rusher at right end or at left end. DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. You'll probably let Grover Stewart go at the age of 30 and then keep Buckner for another year. Shaq Leonard, obviously one of the star power of this team. They only made him normal development, which is very unfortunate for him, but he is one of the more fun players on this team. Kenny Moore, only 1 year left. That is not great for him. And then Julian Blackmon, 1 year left for him. So there's just not a ton of talent on this team. This team was looking primed, ready to go, just a quarterback away. They tried Phillip Rivers. They tried Matt Ryan. None of it worked. Now that they have their quarterback, they don't really have a ton of talent, but they do have draft picks. They have all of their draft picks. Now, as far as star power is concerned, obviously superstar for Nelson, superstar for Jonathan Taylor. Surprised he's not X Factor. Buckner is X Factor, though, so you're definitely going to want to keep him around. But that's really all they got. Can you get some actual talent on this team to make Anthony Richardson's career a little bit easier?
Number 3.
All right, this is one of the more fun rebuilds. I'm sorry. It's the Detroit Lions. To me, it's really fun. Jared Goff has somehow revitalized himself over with the Detroit Lions. You got 2 more years of Jared Goff. Probably won't win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, but if you do, let me know in the comment section because I think that'd be funny. I like Hendon Hooker. I know he's old. I know he doesn't have Dev, but I'd probably give him a shot. Who knows what you could find with him? But you could get your own quarterback here. And that's why I love it, because I love rebuilds where you can get your own quarterback. David Montgomery, they just paid him a little bit. They just brought him in. Jahmyr Gibbs, I would love using this guy in a franchise mode. He looks exciting. He looks electric. 94 speed. The guy can do so many things. Good catcher of the football. You'll get him out of the backfield. You're going to have a lot of fun with Jahmyr Gibbs. Over at wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown's one of my favorite players in football. All right, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I love what he's been able to do. He's been a real underdog. He's been great. So with Amon-Ra St. Brown, you also have Jameson Williams at 22 years old. He hasn't had a great chance to play because he's been hurt, but 98 speed is insane. Look at all them greens. You take a guy that could run routes like Jameson Williams with that kind of speed, that's just going to make it super fun. Sam Laporta at tight end. Can you build a tight end there? Taylor Decker, not horrible on the line. Jonah Jackson, you only got 1 year of, but he's okay for a guard. You can hide a guard. Frank Ragnow, great player. Vaitai, this is going to be your worst offensive lineman because Penei Sewell is incredible at the age of... He's only 22. He's been playing for 2 years. Penei Sewell's amazing. Aiden Hutchinson, very nice young player. You really want to build this guy. I can't believe they only gave him star dev. I really cannot believe they only gave him star dev. Did they watch him play last year? Did they... Look at all the greens. Did they watch him play last year? Aiden Hutchinson's looking really good. Defensive tackles, not great. Linebackers, obviously Honestly, not the greatest. Jack Campbell's okay. That'll be fun. Over on the DBs, you don't got much. They've tried to select DBs. It hasn't really worked for them in the past. Kirby Joseph as a free safety, I would play him over Tracy Walker. I'd trade Tracy Walker. I'm not going to lie to you. CJ Gardner-Johnson's awesome, but Brian Branch, but to me, the Lions, they could be a lot of fun. You find your own quarterback. There's a lot of fun players and young players on this team. 2 third-round picks minus the 4th-round pick in 2024, and then all the original draft picks in 2025 and 2026 to build more youth on this roster. Look at this. Of their best players, I mean, nobody's 30 until you hit Marvin Jones Jr., and that's pretty far down the list. They don't have a lot of players who are over 30 years old. This is super young and super fun.
Number 2.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why do I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? You look at that cap space up in the top right-hand corner. Negative $1 million for the Tampa Bay Bucs right now. Gotta get rid of some money, and they're not even spending at quarterback. They don't even have a good quarterback. They have who's become quite of a journeyman at this point, Mr. Baker Mayfield, for one season. They have no immediate answer behind that. Kyle Trask is 25 already. John Wolford's 27. Those guys probably aren't the answer. At running back, you gotta build up Rachaad White or you have almost nothing. Wide receiver, Mike Evans, last year of his deal. Are you gonna have the money necessary to re-sign the man? Don't know. Chris Godwin has 27.5 due to him the year after this one. Making 8 now. Tight ends, they don't have a lot to speak of, but I do like Cade Otton. Tristan Wirf's got a couple years left. That option kicking in 2024. Good thing they drafted Cody Mock. That's about all they got there at left guard. Jensen making some good money, but he's earned it. Filer, at least you're not paying a lot for him. You're not paying a lot at right tackle, but the line is shoddy. Hansey, you gotta build this man into a young defensive star. Maybe you can. He certainly has the tools to get it all done with the 83 speed, 91 excel. Definitely have to show this man how to get the work done. Over at right end, they've got nothing. Defensive tackle Vita Vea is taking up a large sum of their cap in the future. Shaq Barrett's going to take up $20+ million. Good thing Levante David's coming on the cheap, because they don't have a lot of money to be doling out to people. Jamel Dean, good corner. His extension is going to kick in. Same thing with Carlton Davis. He's going to be getting $20.5 million that second season of your franchise. Winfield's due new money, and Ryan Neal is due new money. So it's going to be hard to keep this team together. It has gotten old. Tom Brady walked out on this team while he could. No 5th-round pick in 2024, and pretty much every other pick is intact. So that's good news. But there's a reason Tom Brady walked out on this team. Now, they do have star power. They are paying for it, but they need some injection of youth, and they need a direction at quarterback. And you provide that to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Number 1.
The Las Vegas Raiders. I really like the Raiders this year. They have very little cap space, as you can tell from your top right-hand corner. Jimmy Garoppolo is their brand new quarterback. Get rid of Carr, get another old guy, and one that is even more limited than Derek Carr was. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, probably not your long-term answer. You do have him on the squad for 3 years to deal with, and he's making a bunch of money, but there's no signing bonus due to him failing that physical, so all that signing bonus got converted. You can cut him whenever you want to. So when there's a quarterback in the draft, you don't need Jimmy any longer. Josh Jacobs looks like he's going to be off the team soon if you don't give him the money that he wants, and you probably won't, because running backs, dime a dozen. You can probably get another one in free agency. There will be a bunch of them out there, because this team's spending at receiver. They are spending on Davante Adams, but of course, he's the main draw to a Raiders series. You get to just chuck it up, let him go get it, let him do him. You know Davante Adams, one of the best players in all of football, is going to get the job done for you. Outside of that, Hunter Renfro's making a good amount of money, and actually, they signed Jacoby Myers to a pretty big deal as well. Over at tight end, I think Michael Mayer's going to do just fine, taking over for Darren Waller, who is no longer there. He's already got hit in development. He's a tight end from Notre Dame. That usually goes by pretty well. For the offensive line, there is Colton Miller, and you have him for 3 years, signed for big money, but outside of that, you got nobody. There's nobody there. Defensive line, on the defensive ends, nothing. Defensive tackles, nothing. But they do have Max Crosby, and he would be another main draw of a franchise mode headed with the Las Vegas Raiders, a 94 overall now, giving him that respect. It has been a long time coming for Max Crosby, and you have him for 4 years, so that's very good. Over on the other side, of course, Chandler Jones in the twilight of his career. Maybe he can help, and maybe he can mentor a Tyree Wilson to be that next pass rusher that Vegas really needs. Corners, they've been trying to just throw a bunch of crap up against the wall and see what sticks, and that's really what this is. I mean, Hobbs is okay. Is he going to develop? Don't know. Peters, for 1 year, they're giving it a shot. Epps, who knows? And Morig, I mean, he's young, and I do like him, but man, the Raiders' defense leaves a lot to be desired. Their offensive line leaves a lot to be desired. There are challenges. They have a couple of extra 7th-round picks minus a 6th-round pick in 2024, 2025, and 2026 are intact. So at least they have a full complement of draft picks for you to do what you need to do in the draft, and you're going to have to get a quarterback sooner rather than later, especially if you want to keep Devontae Adams happy. There are some stars here. How many do you keep? And can you inject this team with enough young talent? They've done a lot of bad drafting over the last few years. Can you do a better job than Mike Mayock? I think most people could. Let me know who you guys are going to use for your franchise mode in the comment section below. I'd love to get a discussion going about it, and I hope you guys are looking forward to episode 1 of My Franchise Mode.